Alright, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Alright. In this last speech of today's debate round, what I'm going to be talking about is basically contrasting once again a world with a bilateral investment treaty with a world without one. I'm going to be first of all going over actually the fourth voting issue of the negative, because I'll be addressing the other ones in my voting issues. So just jump right in so I don't run out of time here before I get to the important stuff. Fourth voting issue is talking about economic devastation. Now this is basically the disadvantage of the negative team, and they were talking about how linking our economies just makes the problem worse. Now again, we just come back to the idea, it's non-unique, period. Just going back to the argumentation of the negative team, what they're saying is that, okay, we're linking our economies are already linked. Basically the point being that our economy is linked so globally with everyone in the world that it's not going to make a difference if we give protection to our investors in Russia. Just drawing the tangent there, though, that basically a world with and a world without a bilateral investment treaty would look the same according to the economic devastation disadvantage. Just talking about how basically whether you vote affirmative or negative, whether you vote for a world with or without a bilateral investment treaty, things would look the same on those lines. It's not a reason to vote for the negative team. Alright, so to jump right into my voting issues, the first one is solvency. Now this is a big issue, and I'm going to be spending most of my time here. So there's a couple of arguments that we're going to be talking about. The first one is about investors. You can flow this under the first negative voting issue as well. We're just talking about the investors withdrawing and their mindsets. Now the first thing I'd like to talk about real quick is that my partner actually did respond. Seeing as my partner only had 5 minutes to respond to 13 minutes of speaking, she actually did a lot of grouping, just talking about arguments in groups. So she was talking about investors withdrawing when she was talking about Russia's economy versus the global economy, etc. Talking about their evidence specifically under there. So we did actually respond to this. We did talk about investors. Additionally, we can also go back to the second status quo point that we're talking about. When we're talking about whether or not investors want to invest in Russia, it can be quite obvious that investors do actually want to invest. If you go back to the second status quo point, the evidence we read under there was talking about how our investors, because they're not protected, are actually going through European subsidiaries to be able to invest in Russia. They want to invest in Russia really badly, and so badly that they want to go through their subsidiaries in Europe and actually lose money on the deal because they're actually because they want to invest in Russia. We need to offer them protection so that they can invest in Russia, and the companies without European subsidiaries can invest beneficially as well. So just on the issue of investors, there are definitely people to invest in Russia. We definitely have the urge, the incentive to go in and invest in Russia. This is not an issue. The second solvency argument that I want to go over real quick is about circumstances. This was dropped completely by the negative team, talking about the circumstances that lead to a successful BIT that I talked about in my last speech. Bringing up Kazakhstan, bringing up all the things under there, all the economic theory that is all on the affirmative side. Talking about how the circumstances leading up to a successful BIT, Russia fulfills all of them. Alright, now the third solvency argument under here is the second voting issue of the negative team is about the laws. Now first of all, I'd like to point out that they dropped all the argumentation on Jackson-Vanik. So Jackson-Vanik does not prohibit a BIT. Now the second part under here is that is about the basically no investment guarantee. A BIT does not say United States investors will go and invest in Russia. That would be an investment guarantee. What a BIT does is say United States investors will be protected if they go to Russia to invest. There's a big difference there, and it's not prohibited by anything in the World Trade Organization. What the evidence was talking about was free trade agreements, not bilateral investment treaties. Big difference there. The fourth and final solvency issue is just talking about the third voting issue, the negative, just Russian refusal. Now we go back and talk about all the things leading up to this, all the historical ideas. Basically, Russia wants a bilateral investment treaty. They've said on multiple occasions that they want a bilateral investment treaty with the United States. All the evidence is on the affirmative side here. The only evidence, in fact, is on the affirmative side here. We brought up multiple quotes by Russia saying they want a bilateral investment treaty. So to go into the second and third voting voting issues real quick. The second voting issue, a world without a bilateral investment treaty. Essentially what this would look like is a world of UCOS affairs. We talked about how the United States investors lost $6.7 billion collectively in the UCOS affair. This is what we'd be headed towards with a world without bilateral investment treaties. It's just more US dollars lost. The third and final voting issue, a world with a BIT. I'd like to point out that the negative team never addressed any of the evidence under our advantages, talking about all of the impacts, all of the jobs to be gained, and all of the economic benefits that would make a world with a BIT much better than a world without. Thank you.